So Mahindra is out with their first all-electric SUV. This is the XUV400. It is based on the XUV300 and it gets an all-electric powertrain. And this is what Mahindra is kicking off their all-electric innings in the SUV space with. As far as positioning is concerned, they've done a stellar job in sort of putting it between the B and C segment of electric SUVs currently available in the market. And we will be talking all about this car in this video. I'm Vikram Gore, you're watching MotorScribes. This is the XUV400 and it is a car that I can tell you in the first 10 minutes of driving it is a vehicle that delights. As far as the design of the XUV400 is concerned, it looks pretty much like the XUV300, except this entire front end has been blocked off, as is a standard feature with all electric vehicles that we see today. The other touch that Mahindra has done is obviously a generous use of the copper color. So this is the first time that the new logo comes in this copper color, and you've also got this little copper motif across the front grille and as inserts in the front bumper. All of this is because copper is considered to be a great conductor of electricity, and to bring that theme into the design of this electric vehicle is what we were told by none other than Pratap Bose, who is the design chief at Mahindra now. So you've got this dual tone look with the car. It's got brilliant sculpted lines, rides on 16-inch alloys, and the highlight for me obviously being this really neat dual tone look with the roof that comes in. So moving around the car, you can see that from the side, it's got that standard XUV300 look, nice squared off front and rear. And they've also added this fine sort of sill at the bottom of the front and rear door, again with a copper garnish to be a throwback to what this car is all about. At the rear, Mahindra's tweaked the lights a bit, given it a little bit of copper in the insert in the rear lights, and overall it does look like a stunning vehicle. Compared to the 300, it is a tad bit longer, so it does look a little bit bigger than what the 300 is, and Mahindra has done a great job of bringing out the styling to give it a nice sort of conformed, well-balanced look. Well, the cabin of the XUV400 has been finished in a nice plush black color. There's a little bit of those copper accents in here. So you see them on the volume control on the audio system. You see them as a bezel around the AC vents. So just a little bit of copper coming into the cabin in what is otherwise a beautiful black layout. Mahindra has really taken up space as one of their priorities with this vehicle. So they've ensured you get ample headroom, legroom, knee room in both the front and the rear rows. And having tested it myself, I would say that there is a lot of space on board, despite this being a nice compact SUV. But going back to the layout, it's done up in fine materials. You've got these really nice black leatherette seats with the blue stitching. There's a bit of piano black on the center console. And they've also given you ample storage space on board. So you've got bottle holders in the doors, a nice large glove compartment, and a nice little box in the center console. Nothing to really complain about with the layout and the look of the interiors. I think it's a fine job, a premium job, and it suits this class of vehicle. Mahindra does like their technology. So on board you get a large 17.78 centimeter touchscreen infotainment system that comes with inbuilt navigation and a nice 4-speaker setup. You've got Android Auto and Apple CarPlay compatibility. It is wired, it's not wireless just yet. And you also get a host of connected car apps that are part and parcel of the package with the XUV400. Other additions to it include a tire position display, EV statistics, a unique leaderboard, so there's sort of gamified driving this vehicle, and you also get a nice push button start as part of the whole XUV400 package. It is a rather neat bit of tech on board, and some of it is fun, some of it is great to use, and it sort of just spices things up with this vehicle. As far as the electric drivetrain is concerned, the XUV400 gets a permanent magnetic synchronous motor that delivers 150 PS of power and 310 Newton meters of torque. You get 3 drive modes as well, which are nicely labeled as fast, fun and fearless. Well, each one sort of speaks for itself, and it tells you exactly what it's going to do. But it changes the throttle response, it changes the steering response, as well as regen levels. So it does do a fantastic job of that. We got to experience that out on the track over here, and it really does delight. You can feel a significant change between the 3 modes, and it does make this a rather fun e-SUV to have around. The battery pack on board is a 39.4 kilowatt-hour high-energy lithium-ion battery pack. It's got liquid cooling, as well as a function to keep the battery at a very stable temperature. So it can cool down in extreme heat, and it can warm up in extreme cold, so that you always get optimal battery usage. It is a front-wheel drive vehicle, and overall what you get as a range is 456 kilometers to a single charge, which is pretty much the best in segment. Speaking about charging, on a regular 3.3 kilowatt charger, it takes 13 hours to get a full charge. On a 7.2 kilowatt AC charger, it takes 6.5 hours to get a full charge. And on a 50 kilowatt DC fast charger, it takes 50 minutes to go up to 80%. So as I mentioned, it's got 150 PS of power on tap and 310 Newton meters of torque that it churns out. So what does that translate to in the way it drives? Well, Mahindra has done a fine job in tuning the suspension, sort of beefing it up and giving it a whole load of tech to ensure that it can deal with the additional weight of having the battery pack on board, as well as the additional strengthening to the body for the added safety that an EV requires. But with all of that, it drives really nice. It is a fun, fast car to have. You've got those drive modes, so the fun level is your city level. Fast is basically what lets you notch up past about 120 kilometers per hour and is great for cruising down the highway. And if you really want that peppy driving feel, then switch to fearless and just feel this vehicle go. It can hit a top speed of 150 kilometers per hour, and it's very easy to use. You've only got 2 pedals on board. There's no gears to change. And what Mahindra has included in this is something that they call lively mode, which is single pedal driving, and that activates the regen to a very high level. So the minute you lift off the accelerator, it automatically starts the regen mode, which sort of slows down the vehicle. So you can actually do single pedal driving with this, which takes a bit of getting used to, but it is fun. So overall, it's a vehicle that handles really well, it drives really nice, the steering is nice and light, and despite it being a lot heavier than an XUV300, it feels rather nimble while on the move. So no complaints on this front at all. Mahindra takes safety very seriously, and with the XUV400, they've ensured that it delivers a rather safe package. So the body in white, which is pretty much the structure, has been sort of beefed up to deal with the additional weight of having the batteries on board. They've also strengthened the area around the batteries, so should you be in an accident, nothing should happen to the batteries. It is a crash compliant structure, and the use of ultra high strength steel has been generously done to ensure that you get a very solid structure. The top end variant gets 6 airbags, ABS, EBD, disc brakes on all 4 wheels. You've got ISOFIX seats at the rear, and you've also got a pyro switch to ensure that the battery doesn't really catch fire should you be in an accident. So there you have it, folks. The XUV400 in the flesh. It's a vehicle that delights. It's wonderful to drive. It powers up real nice. It's got fun driving modes, and it feels nice and plush on the inside as well. But as a product, where does it sit in the market? Well, according to Mahindra, they're slotting it between the B and C segment. The C segment being the higher end EVs that are out there, like the Hyundai Kona and the MG EZS, and the B being dominated by the Tata Nexon EV. So Mahindra wants to carve a niche of their own. They want to stick this somewhere in between both those segments. But looking at the history of Mahindra, where they have gone out and sort of slotted their products like this in the past, especially the Scorpio N, what we have seen is that they target the higher segment, but they price it towards the lower segment. And over here as well, what that translates to is that this is going to be going up against the Tata Nexon EV in terms of pricing. So for Tata, I think that spells a little bit of trouble, because as a product, this is far better. It is a vehicle that delivers way more joy than what we have experienced with the Nexon. And it also feels way more refined on that front too. Obviously, we're going to have to wait and watch, because we're going to know about the pricing and all the other details only in January of 2023. But as a product, what we have here is a vehicle that delights. It's great. And as a product, what we have here is a vehicle that's wonderful, it's great, it delights, and it's a vehicle that can win you over with the way it just performs.